Nothing like commemorating a grave, but not any grave. Here at Greenwood Cemetery, they have just about everybody, including Henri Wagner Halleck, born in West Vale, New York in 1815. He died in St. Louis, Missouri on January 19th, 1872. Major General Henri Halleck of the United States Army. Buried here, although he died in St. Louis. He was, of course, a native New Yorker. He was born in Westville, New York, as I mentioned. But he's buried here in Greenwood. This was the popular place, famous place to be buried. Now, General Henri Halleck, this is where his interment is, had one of the best nicknames in all of the American Civil War. He was a theoretician, academic, teacher. His nickname was Old Brains. Now, he would serve the entirety of the Civil War with distinction. And unfortunately for Old Brains here, one of his most major distinctions, or major general distinctions, is, of course, he was called up to take over for McClellan after McClellan's campaign on the peninsula failed. Now, what that means is Halleck had been out west. Now, that is campaigning with Grant, Sherman, Thomas, all those sorts of people. The country, and I dare you say even the world, was stunned by the casualties. That's 23,000 casualties at the Battle of Shiloh. Halleck himself was rather stunned by those levels of casualties. The Union casualties are 13,500. That's more casualties than all of America's wars. That's the War for Independence, that's the war with Mexico, the War of 1812, the Seminole War combined. And he takes over for Grant, and that's the Army of the Tennessee River, as opposed to the Army of Tennessee. That gets complicated, but they changed the name. Now, Halleck will serve as Chief of Staff for Grant, his once subordinate. Grant is promoted into Halleck's position when he goes east. Halleck doesn't do so well. He goes on to the bench that Lee will go through until eventually Lincoln will promote Grant into General of the Armies, or Lieutenant General, and he will be Halleck here. He will be Grant's boss. I have been to Grant's tomb in one of the earlier 1-minute walking tours, but I think we'll go back once it's open again, and we'll do a better tour. We'll show you inside the tomb and so forth. I don't know if Halleck, Old Brains here, really liked Grant. I think that there was a lot of professional rivalry. They did both attend West Point. They both fought in the Mexican War. I don't know if they knew each other. They didn't see things the same way. Grant was in many ways the first modern general where he didn't have resources. He created them. He created timberclads, ironclads. He maneuvered on the river. He believed in combined arms. And if your nickname is Old Brains and you teach and you're an academician, or an academic, pardon me, you tend to see things rather in an old-fashioned way. He was a very good administrator. He was a very good paper shuffler. And you can't fight wars without those types of people, but those types of people would rather be on the front. And I think that's what Halleck wants. Halleck is also very instrumental in making California a state. He fights for California, obviously, in the Mexican War, and he is part of the administration process. Now, people believe that California, Halleck would disagree with you, California is rushed into statehood because of gold. That's not the case. California was a free state. And Zachary Taylor, who we talked about over at John Anderson's rather elaborate tomb, as opposed to Old Brains here, was a slaveholder. And Zachary Taylor wanted to end slavery. And he wants to do that by adding free states, that's going to be California, New Mexico, and Utah, to the United States, then hold a vote and referendum on slavery. But he dies before he gets a chance to do it. And I think that even though Halleck was sympathetic to slavery, he knows it has to end. And he sides, obviously, with the Union, and he fights for it. And he continues to fight for Union and Reconstruction well into after the war. And he dies quite a wealthy man, and he can afford to be buried here in the poshest area of post-Civil War America. So, General Halleck, thank you for your service to our country. Old Brains, sorry to giggle at your final resting place. But anyway, stay safe. And as you know, we have now a YouTube channel. If you would please like and subscribe, we'll go and do new things and find new places together. So have a good one. Stay safe.